Alright, so here's Sarah from City of Rott 1, and these are as close as I have to the original paper for now. I'd have to dig up where I put all the paperwork, but I drew this by a ballpoint pen by hand. This is the computerized version of it, where I imported it and scanned it into the computer, and then I used the brush tool to just color in the hair. But this is pretty much what it looks like. I just would draw all the pieces like that, and then if you zoom in a little bit, you could see some of the details of the lines there. You can see that was drawn by hand, although with some of the newer software you could get pretty close to that with computer, but drawing it by hand is pretty much how I originally did it with City of Rott 1, City of actually Shock Invasion, and then Dead Fury. And then I would draw in thicker lines around the outside too. But you could see I have all the different eyes and the mouths, and there's the face. What I forgot to do when I was first drawing Sarah was to give an angle to the face. So I was like, well, great, now I have to give her a 3/4 angle. So then I had to go in and adjust it, and I'll give you a quick example of how I did that. But moving on, then I created a separate layer and added all the colors, so you can see she now has more life to her. And then I added a little color there to her cheeks as well, and then her hands and legs. And next thing I would do is I would go like this. I'd say, all right, well, now that I have that, I have to isolate each piece. So I would circle whatever I wanted separated, and then you go edit, and you go copy, and then you go edit, cut, and now that under layer is showing. But here's where you would go edit, paste, and it creates a new layer with just her, but you gotta anchor it, so you just go to new layer, and there it is. So she's got her own separate layer up there, which is what this one is here, and I'll show you what I did with that. But originally, when it was on paper, what you had to do is separate it from the white background. So what I would do is, alright, let's say this was merged down and everything's just a white background with the ballpoint pen. So if you did that again, you'd get these white outlines, and that's not going to work. So rather than do that, let's see, I would go with this select tool, just click on all the outer edges there. I don't know why it didn't highlight anything. Am I on the right layer? Yeah. So maybe it's just select transparent areas. 26. Yeah, I don't know why. Oh, because it's on some kind of glitch. See how it's minus there? It should be plus. So I need to figure out what's wrong with it. There it is, plus. So you want to plus all of that. Now see how it's all selected? So you just do select invert, and now you do edit, copy, edit, paste to new layer. And now if you deselect this, you can see everything's highlighted, selected. And there you go. So that's how I did it for each character. And then you have to go cut out each piece and go from there. But that's the start of it. And now I had this face here. And this is what she looks like when it's all finished. And you can see I used to add shadows, but that adds a whole nother layer to the process of trying to track the shadow. It was easier with this program, Image Ready, and Photoshop, which I originally used, but this is just a different program here. It's called GIMP. Alright, so this face, I had to get at that angle. So I said, how am I going to get this face at an angle? So what I did is just go select her face, and now I have to angle it. So what I did is I pulled this piece here, kind of like that, and then I pulled this piece up here, kind of like that, and then you just press transform, and then you could stretch it out a little. Well, you don't want to do that, but there it is. That's the general idea, and then that's how you end up with this piece here. I originally should have drawn her face and her body at that angle, but I said, all right, well, I don't want to redraw the whole process all over again. So once you have all this, then you could say, all right, well, I have the different mouths here, and I'll zoom in on that. So you could say, all right, so her eyes would have to blink, and there they are, because the blink is actually drawn into the face. Normally I'd have the blink separate and separate from the face, but and there's when she's squinting her eyes, and then her mouth could go like that, and then when she's talking, her mouth would open. Usually you want an M mouth, an ah mouth, a T mouth, and U mouth for like certain vowels. And then she's got a couple different expressions there, a couple different T mouths as well. This is like a sad one. And then what's important is for like Image Ready, you couldn't just have all these layers and say, all right, well, now I'm going to animate her. I'd have to merge all these pieces together, because like this zombie here, let me pull this to a larger view. Like the zombie, you'd have to create just the main keyframes. So here's the second, and here's the third, and meanwhile you had like 100 different other layers for the background or for the other characters and the special effects. So it would like slow down pretty good if you added too much stuff, too many layers. So I had to go into here, and let's say I wanted to move her arms like that, or just have her walk around. Let me see, I'd have to give her that mouth, and then those eyes, and I have to do merge down. So actually have to merge her face into one piece. So now it's like that. If I wanted to have her blink, I'd have to undo all that and give her a separate face to blink. Although you could just work with the eyes and just attach the eyes separately. So, but then that's more layers. But if you just want to have her walk, let's see. So her hand is separate from her arm. So you just merge that down, and then this hand, you merge that down there. And then, let's see, the upper arm, the forearm. So I would merge that down there. And here's the torso. And then oh wow, that upper arm is back there for some reason, and the forearm is there. So I have to pull that back and merge that down. And then her leg, her other leg, and then the shadow. But then what I would do is just merge all these pieces together into one. And before I did that, I would save it as a separate file. And then you would have to go in this program here. You couldn't do it in the animation program. Well, you could, but you'd have to merge it all together again. I would go under here for her arm. So if I wanted to rotate her arm, actually you start with the leg. So let's say I wanted to have her walk. I'll pull this, well, that should have went, this piece should move. In other words, this little arrow should move up, but it's not. Oh, because I'm not on rotate, that's why. Alright, so see how that moves up like that? Now you could pivot it. So let's say the second frame would probably be about there. And then you would say rotate. But in Image Ready, once you rotated it, that was it. You lost the original piece at the original angle because it couldn't rotate and it couldn't zoom in or anything like that or scale. So then for the back leg, I would go and move that back further that way, and then you'd say rotate. And that's how you end up with this here, where after you merged all those pieces together, you have her there, and then you have her leg move there, and then her leg move there. And then for the zombie, it's much simpler because they're very rotted and decayed, so they don't move very well. But we could zoom in on her face here. It'll get pixelated and see. I had like neutral eyes here, like blue eyes, and here she has like green eyes. If you zoom in really close, she's got the green eyes there. And then the final animation was really simple in Image Ready for City of Rott 1. But with City of Rott Otherworld, I was able to add a lot more frames and keyframes for the final animation. So I didn't feel so limited with Image Ready, because like you couldn't have all these pieces in Image Ready unless you really wanted to slow down the whole system, and then it would be useless anyway because none of these could rotate. So let's pretend this was Image Ready here. This is what it looked like, all these layers. But if there was no tool to rotate, so that would be gone. The scale would be gone, and you could only just move it, and that's it. So this face here, I could move it, but I couldn't rotate it. So that's why actually there were, there were rotate and scale, but once again, after you scaled it or rotated it, it was stuck. So that one layer that you had was stuck like that, and that was it. It would stay that way forever. Throughout your whole animation, it would change all the layers of that one, all the keyframes of that one layer. So what I had to do is go duplicate it. So say duplicate that layer. So if I wanted to have her look up, I would just rotate the layer there. So now I have two separate layers, and then have her look up that way. And then you could see now I have this layer here, and then she looks up, and then that's pretty much the idea of it. I'd probably move her face up a little bit like that. But that's how I created Sarah from City of Rott 1. And definitely a challenging process when you can't, you have to duplicate every single layer you want any kind of rotation or scale for. So that's one reason I had such limited animation, because I had so much going on in each scene. So this might all be different characters, and each had their own set of animations that I had to set up. So it was so much easier with Anime Studio Pro compared to Image Ready. Although Image Ready had this really cool feature where right within the software you could change the image and duplicate layers, but in Anime Studio Pro I don't know how to do that. I don't think that's an option. I tried, but I couldn't figure it out, and I actually don't think it's an option. But if I duplicate this layer, what I'm saying is I could go change the color right within the program itself. But in Image Ready, it's all sourced to the PSD file or the PNG file. So whatever you change in the editor PNG PSD program, that affects the Anime Studio Pro file. I think I went into probably too much detail, but that really explains it pretty well. The process of animating City of Rott and the challenge that I had without the ability to have a real-time rotate and scale with the bitmap image. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and if you made it this far, thank you, and feel free to comment, like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell icon. Thanks a lot.